Hi, everybody. So I have the beautiful Anya with me today, and we're going to talk about sound and what it does. So frequency and all of that.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
My favorite to talk about is sound and sound healing, frequency, voice. I don't stop talking most of the time, so it's definitely one of my favorite things.
Yeah. Me too. So one thing too is, and I'm going to out you on YouTube, but you're a beautiful singer.
Yeah, definitely.
So we're hoping that you will do that for us sometime soon. Maybe record something. Um, Good, good. So I wanted to show you guys this book. And what I get about it, I get it's a really good book. And it's helpful, but it's going to start to morph a little bit. So if you learn it, then remember that these chakras are going to start to spread out.
Expansion.
Yeah, because we're in expansion, and we're in expansion in kind of an exponential way right now.
Definitely. You can feel it. It's intense, but powerful at the same time.
It's massive. So I haven't even cracked the book, which is my MO. That's what I do. I buy the book and I'm really excited, and then I don't open it, and then I get in trouble for that.
I open it sometimes and I look through it and I think I skim read it. I like flick through the chapters and then I'm like, yeah, I'll read that another time and then never go back to it. So I must like download what I need and just put it back.
Me too. But I'm so excited that when it comes in the mail. So I spend money on certain things, rocks and books.
That's me.
Yeah. So
I am the exact those herbs and
right. Health
books, but
stuff.
yeah, a lot of health stuff, a lot of them things. But yeah, and I love to go charity shopping. That's my little guilty pleasure. I love to go charity shopping.
Oh yeah. I used to love that. We call it thrift shopping in the
Yeah,
US. And I used to love that. And now I have too much stuff, so I don't do it anymore.
So me, that is exactly me. I do apologize for the background noise. It's because I chose because it's a really beautiful day.
Well, a lot of
today.
people are getting to be on YouTube, so that's fun.
I
So
know. I had a little intuition thought it might happen, so I popped the dog inside. But it's can't be helped. It's just the life that we live.
yeah,
But yeah, definitely thrift shopping is one of my guilty pleasures. But yeah, going back to sound, let's stay on topic because
yeah.
I do not your wild energy work energy. I make that even worse because I'm the same.
Yeah. So basically what we're talking about is frequency. So
Yeah,
you can get frequency with color, which is why I'm obsessed with rocks and painting and stuff like that. Or you can get it with sound. Now, sound is a lot easier, I think.
yeah,
Because just the
definitely.
sound of our voice can change somebody. Like you can, if you're awake and aware and a light being, you can walk into a place, you can speak, and you're activating people.
Yep, definitely. That vibration tone, it's like we all have a certain frequency, and whether that's expressed, like you say, via artwork, via poetry, via expression of self, via music, or whatever it is that you choose to express your frequency with, we all have a specific frequency, and once you kind of find yours and find a way to express that, it can be such a healing process, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and the throat chakra is really big right now. So if you can find anything that's blue, so like blue stones especially, and wear them here around your throat, then you're going to help your throat be more open. You're going to help that chakra. But our chakras are going to expand until we kind of look like a rainbow.
Yeah, but that's the point. They were never meant to be. Well, I think they had to be for a certain time restricted, but for us to function in this human body. But on a higher level purpose, I don't think the energy centers of the body were ever meant to be so constricted and so separate, And it's really funny that you say that because when I used to meditate years and years ago, I was about 18, I used to connect them with cords all together. So they were still kind of separate, but I used to have energy cords going through them all to kind of let that energy flow, because that, I think that just allows that synchronicity they're going through, you know, and that were even years ago without knowing. So I think there was always a subconscious knowing that they're not meant to be locked away, you know, and I think that had a lot of my solar plexus issues, because it really was confined in so much energy into such a small space and not understanding how to process that.
Yeah, and that's the most important spot, really, because that opens up the heart, which is what we're doing now. And as the heart chakra is open, like that's changing everything.
Right.
Because love is the key to everything. And it really is truly unconditional. So loving yourself, knowing you're worthy, you showed up here, so you're worthy. That's all you have to know. You don't need
Exactly.
any other proof of it.
Yeah, just existing as a connection to source, you know, that in itself makes you worthy of receiving abundance, receiving love, receiving healing, you know. And I think even though sometimes we do know this, even I would need to be reminded of that sometimes, you know, and I need to kind of reinforce that belief into my mind, because we get stuck in as 3D human emotions. We get stuck in insecurities. We get thoughts and feelings and things that come up. And going back to the sound thing, that's one of the main things and techniques I use to get out on frequencies like that, to change the frequency. So if I am, you know, there's been many times throughout the years, but like you say, I've been a singer for years, and starting off as a child, music for me was definitely a healing mechanism, a coping mechanism, and a way to also like spread my light and spread my energy without knowing that's what I was doing as a child. But you know, and I've got a really complicated relationship with music now. I absolutely love it, but it did become something that was taken out of my control and kind of used as like what's the word without being like disrespectful to those around me, like it felt a bit like it wasn't my choice. It was like just forced upon me in certain environments, because there was pride, love, but that created a lack of choice around when I wanted to do it and how I wanted to do it and the ways in which. And then obviously I went to stage school as well, and that really kind of molds you a certain way and expects you to express yourself with a tick box, and I just didn't know how to do that. You know, there was a lot of ways that, so for me it became something that I absolutely adored doing but didn't know how to do in my own way. And I'm sure there's many people that might have experienced that, whether that's even just talking, you know, like that's something that's been really coming up for me lately, is being able to express myself, express my boundaries, and not feel insecure about that, not feel guilty about that, not feel like that's doing something wrong or like that's not valid, you know. So the throat chakra, like you say, there's so much coming up for us claiming our power there and claiming our voice, whether that is a singer, whether that is a musician, whether that is just speaking and communicating and being able to express ourselves, our needs, and our voice. At this time, I think that's one of the precipice things to be able to move through this next stage of ascension is communication and expression of self. And we have to kind of navigate what that means to us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and communication has been notoriously bad on this planet.
Right.
And the reason is because everybody was divided on purpose. We have all these different languages, all these different ideas about people. And really, all of that's baloney, because we are all one. And it doesn't matter what your, you know, what your culture is, what your color is, what anything is, you all matter, and everybody deserves to be happy. So it's like that's something that I think we're going to know in the future. And that's going to come from the heart chakra opening. It's in the middle of really kind of expanding right now. And after that, it's going to be the throat.
Definitely.
So, yeah, that's going to be really good, because so many people are going to come forward and start to speak.
Yeah. And this is what we need. And I think to be able to do that, it makes a lot of sense that the heart has to come first, because if we're opening up the throat like clearly and openly and honestly, and then not dealing with the wounds in the heart and not dealing with the kind of pain and the inner child wounds, and a lot of that can sometimes just explode out of the throat chakra when it's not being addressed.
Yeah.
So how many of us for years have repressed trauma? A lot of us didn't even know the trauma existed until we started the healing journey. I was one of these people, so I can speak for that, my personal experience. And once you start to acknowledge it doesn't stop. Sometimes there's the door that just continuously opens, and it is about having a way to express that and deal with that. And that's something I personally have struggled with, and I'll hold my hands up to that. Part of my human experiences, I brought up around a lot of projectors, so that was my natural kind of cycle in my brain. When dealing with emotions or stress or triggers, I would project on people closest to me or person closest to me at the time. And it was a really hard observation to kind of understand where them cycles were and where my throat chakra was being blocked and where I was acting out of defense and ego and fear of being vulnerable and fear of not being seen and heard and not feeling safe. In essence, it's all about not feeling safe to communicate. That was the problem for me in the throat chakra. So I really had to address the communication issues there, and it's still something that I have to pull myself up on. So I think you're right, honey. We have to really work on communicating from the heart and expanding that heart space first before we step into really deeply, openly expressing ourselves, because we don't want to do it out of victim. We don't want to do it out of blame. We don't want to do it out of, trying to justify and explain the traumas that's happened to us. We want to do it out of acknowledgement and awareness, but without as much ego as we can leave behind, and that comes from opening the heart.
Yeah. And there's damage you can do with a blocked throat chakra. So not only to yourself, but to me, it's like bird song if your heart was open versus like the kazoo if you're, like if it's not. And that's when it's quiet, like otherwise it's screaming. So when someone is yelling at you, or even just yelling in general, say they're next door and they're yelling, it penetrates the energetic field. So it actually is an injury. And I don't think people understand that, because it is a physical injury, just as if someone, I'm not going to say the word on YouTube, but somebody did that, like it's the same thing, really. The other one is more lasting, this one is going to last longer, but the other one causes PTSD in the same way.
Definitely.
Yeah.
If you're around that vibration, like you say, even if it's something you grew up with or something you was around a lot and exposed to a lot as a child or are exposed to a lot now, it makes your inner self feel so unsafe to express themselves and to communicate that. So it's really hard to get to that next level of healing that we're all trying to get to at this moment in time, which feels like, I feel like there's, for me specifically, and the people I'm working with, it feels like we get so far and then it's like this step back in a own personal journey, and it's questioning like, why does that keep happening? Obviously it's going to always keep happening, but in certain aspects that keep coming up right now, and it all for me boils down to being able to communicate and articulate and express myself, my boundaries and my needs clearly and healthily without insecurity or without fear. So I do think that's something that, like you say, the heart and the throat, if we are stepping into the love and stepping into the confidence and comfortability with self, then we're not going to project that as we're communicating. We're not going to project that fear and that insecurity out with us words and the way we're trying to speak, and also anger, because anger is such a manifestation of pain, and it's one of the easiest that was my go-to, defense, anger, shutdown. It was an easiest way to avoid that confrontation and conversation that makes me feel extremely exposed and vulnerable. So if you shut it down with anger, it was a defense mechanism. So You know, I think there's many ways you can recognize if your throat chakra is blocked, and it can be like myself with the anger and projection, but it could also be that you feel like you have to stay silent, you feel like you can't speak, you feel like that no one ever hears you and you never heard, and you know there's no room for your words and your words are not valid. So there's many different ways that a throat chakra can be kind of out of whack a little bit, and that can be too much or too less, and it is kind of about finding that healthy balance, and music and sound can really help us do that.
Yeah, and even if you're humming,
Yeah,
you know,
any form of
yeah, any kind of activity there. And so we encourage you to open up your heart chakra, know that you're going to be safe, and also then start to work on your throat. But the heart chakra is what's on the table right now. That's humanity in general is working on that. Yeah. But I wanted to also talk about these.
Yeah, tuning forks.
Yeah.
I love
So
them.
you can get a set of these really inexpensively. And you can play with them. Like I have singing bowls and they were a beautiful gift and I love them, but I totally don't know what I'm doing. So one day I played the singing bowl for way too long and it was just one note. And I was tired for 2 days after I did that. So I had to take a nap immediately and I was fine before I did it. And then after that, the next day I was so tired as well. So I think they need more like knowledge. That's what I'm saying. But
I think
these, I don't feel like they do.
no, they don't. But I think maybe what if it had an upgrade or an activation within you? That could have been that. They do that
It
with me.
might have been. And maybe I did that on purpose to myself, but it was crazy. And I was like, I just can't understand why I'm so tired. Right.
A big white one is massive, and it was
It was a white one. Yeah, it was. I was like,
crown.
yeah.
And mine, when I do it, if my crown's not in alignment, my head will feel really fuzzy until I've stopped spinning it, until like it'll tell me when, and then my head grounds in. So it like grounds my crown. That's what I say. So when I'm feeling like out of whack or like not leveling the crown, I just gong it and swing it around, and all the animals love it. They all lay there like just humming out. So my don't do it for too long. So maybe I'm just not doing the massive upgrades that you did with yours.
Yeah, I would say I probably played it for, I would say a solid 15 minutes.
Yeah. So it's
Too
probably done a
long.
lot of deep activations there in the
Yeah,
crown, and maybe a bit intense for the human.
too much.
And
It was too much. And that was like a year and a half ago.
mm,
And I did have an activation shortly after that, actually. And a
it
fever.
might,
Because a lot of times you get a fever when you're getting an activation or some
yeah.
kind of short cold or ears ringing or whatever. But I just wanted to mention these because you can feel, I'm hoping that this translates,
Yeah.
but you
The
can
sound.
feel the note. So that's an F and it's
Yep.
174. And I just think that these are an easier way to get started than getting singing bowls, even though I absolutely love them and I want to learn what to do with them. But I feel like as we go through the healing process, pretty soon we're going to know how to use this kind of stuff to heal somebody from all kinds of things.
Definitely.
Yeah.
They kind the different notes, I know that you can use them for different energy points throughout the body, but you don't necessarily need to know. Like Honey says, you can just tap into your intuition. And I place them like in different parts over my body or whoever I'm working on, and I just kind of make the frequency. And what you'll notice is if that area is blocked, it won't play the tune clearly. So it will sound very dull. It will sound very like scatty and very distorted. So if you do some then energy clearing, send gold into that area, send green and gold into the space where you are donging your little fork. Then once you've done the clearing, the do it again, and the sound should be a lot clearer, and it'll sound a lot more clear, in tune, and just in alignment. So definitely try that, and try before the energy work and after on certain parts, either on yourself or on animals or on other people, and you can really notice where there's slight blockages and heaviness, and definitely just make sure you're sending gold energy from source into that area, clearing that out, and then checking it again with the fork. That can be a really good way of checking the energy centers in the body.
Yeah, I mean, and even if you have like a xylophone or something in the house, play with that.
Yeah.
I used to love those as a kid.
Definitely. But it's the different frequencies and sounds that
Yeah.
activate this, and I think that's like the message for me. Obviously I love the folks and I love the singing bowls, but for me, I was always a musician before I knew about anything to do with spirituality as a young adult, as a teenager. I mean, I had the knowing in some ways, but I didn't know what obviously we know now. And I started off a musician, I started off a singer, and always interested in other instruments. I can play some very briefly, but it's always been the voice for me and the music. And like different songs and different vibrational frequencies have been unbelievably powerful for me to either release wounds, to activate myself, to activate others. Like the recent song that I wrote and performed at Mark Atwood's event, I didn't realize how many kind of activations I received from that. And then also so many people in the crowd came up to me and said, I received a full body chakra activation. And I was just, it was so mind-blowing that can just come from opening his mouth literally, and using our frequency and tapping into that, but just having the confidence to do that, I think, is the key here. And whether that's with a guitar or a keyboard or a xylophone or anything that's coming up for you, tap into sound, tap into frequency, because there's a reason why science can't explain what sound does to a human. There's a reason why there is no explanation for that physical reaction when we experience something so unbelievably beautiful, but we don't know why it makes us cry or get goosebumps or all them things. This is all because it's had an emotional resonance within our soul.
Yeah, and think about the water video that we did. I'll put it underneath. Hopefully I'll remember. But the water video, we showed a lot of different sound and the way it affects the water. And the body is mostly water.
Exactly.
So it really is changing things, and it's probably helping release and activate. It's doing both.
100%, 100%. And think about it, everything is sound. Even, I'm sure this is right, isn't it? When blind people use sound vibrations to like work around the room, because it's the density of that sound of the stick as it hits the floor, how far away it is from an object. So their whole coordination of the earth is based upon sound frequency. And that is absolutely magical, that people can do that, can interpret the world around them based off solely sound frequency. So if that can exist, then that just shows in itself that the ability to connect via sound and via energy and frequency, because I'm also, and I love art and I love creating art and painting, and I feel like that in itself can be such a powerful form of expression, and just to be able to do that. But definitely in terms of like when you can speak to someone in a different language but understand the energy and the frequency, because it is all to do with like the sound and the energy that we're experiencing.
The tone.
Yeah.
The tone. So there's color, which I would liken to light.
Yes.
So different forms of light. And then you have sound. So these two things are comprising everything. And you can I've watched somebody with like really loud music, frequency sound, and the whole car, like it was in the car and the windows were like this. Like the glass was actually became malleable. And in my mind, I was thinking, oh, well, that car's about to fall apart because all the screws are going to come loose in there.
Right.
But I mean, really, the point was what it could do, because the windows were seriously waving.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
enough to smash windows, isn't it? They'll sound
Mhm.
that piercing, high-pitched noise that can smash a glass, that can smash windows, It is absolutely mind-blowing when you truly do think about it. And you made me think of something then. Like, when they have nightclubs and they use really loud music and then really like flashing lights and different light, and it creates that vibrational atmosphere of euphoric kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Like kind of like you are intoxicated, even without being intoxicated at all. You're in them environments, it creates that vibration, it creates that energy with the sound and the lights and that kind of escapism from the real world. And I think that was it triggered that thought in me. Oh, that's probably why they do that, to create them environments in a dancing kind of environment, nightclub, to create that altered experience, as you're going in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And the pyramids were built with sound.
Mm.
So the pyramids, Machu Picchu, when you look at those walls and like you can't even slide a piece of paper through them.
Yeah, I love them.
They made the rocks malleable. And then they had telekinesis. So they're just floating through the
Hmm.
sky.
I
And
feel
that,
like,
yeah,
yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. You
I
go.
just want to say one thing. So there was a reporter that recorded, and this was back when you just barely had like the phonograph, I think. So he recorded the sound because some of the Buddhist monks still know how to do this. So he recorded it. He took it back to his newspaper and they destroyed it. They destroyed the story and they gave away the recording.
How
And
fascinating.
yeah, so because they didn't want anybody to know.
And it just shows you, like you say, I got excited when you brought up the pyramids and the Machu Picchu, because it's just so mind-blowing how you can create. I mean, we don't have architecture like that now. We can't create architecture like that now. It's physically impossible. And they've created hairline accuracy, like you say, and the only way that is physically possible is, in my opinion, through sound frequency and telekinesis. And to be able to, like, we have no idea the potential of our frequencies and what that can create on the physical world. Like, we're literally going to be about to be living some Matilda real life stuff going
Oh,
on,
yeah.
around, because that's our. And I knew there was a reason I loved that film as a kid, when she's floating everything around the room. I was like, I can do that. It's a knowing in the inner self that we are so connected. And even in that scene, she's got the music on and she's dancing, because that shows you it's the vibration. It's our vibration. And how much better does it feel? I've gone from the Machu Picchu to that, but the last thing I want to say is, how much better does it feel when we're in that lower vibration and we raise it with music and sound, and just kind of remembering that and going back to that. But yeah, I got really excited about the architecture, because it just fascinates me that there's clear evidence there that it was created from something other than brick and mortar and labor. It's very, very clear, because it's not the same way that we design and create our architecture now, and it's got everlasting structures that have survived millennia, so it's evidentiary in itself. And I think they're the kind of things we need to question more. Is, okay, so how did that actually get created? And the things like stone circles in Scotland and things, well, their origin of the rock seems to date from places like Africa and places. So how did they get from other continents over to Scotland and create a formation of circles to do that? That's something that doesn't happen very easily, I don't think.
Right. Yeah. And I'm getting ready to do a series about stuff like that. But I wanted to also, since I saw this sitting here, there was this one rock that looked like it was a larger rock that was squeezed.
Ooh.
And it was folded, and then around it, it was stuck inside of a little corner, like a little square. So it's like they used this part of the rock to hold it in there. And it was the craziest thing to look at. And you have to have the rock be liquefied in order to achieve that.
Ah, okay. For it to actually. formate into another one and blend like that. It has to be
Yeah,
liquefied.
the rocks were just like kind of jelly-like, I think.
Wow.
Mhm.
It really fascinates me to think, like, imagine the almost like experiments and things that have got up to, like, ooh, what frequency does this, what does this do to this one? And it's like, really, we have
Yeah,
no idea of the potential of our, and even me being a singer, and it's beautiful, there's no denying that that's a wonderful thing to do, but the potential of the voice and the potential of the notes and the frequencies that can be created just from the voice, I think we've explored about 3% of it.
yeah, if that. And then another one to look into is the didgeridoo.
Yeah, I love the
Yeah,
didgeridoo, I love the didgeridoo. My dad had one growing up and he used to play it to us in the living room. Like, honestly, they are they are very shamanic and
yeah,
trance. Oh, I love they I remember being a child feeling like I was stood by a fire in like the African desert or something, like feeling like I was moving around the fire, just being stood in my dad's living room, because that's the power of that vibration that it creates. Like, they're really magical instruments, the didgeridoos.
they are. They're really awesome.
Quite
So
hard to play.
very healing too, I feel like. So if you can
Yeah,
get a recording of a didgeridoo, I'd totally go for it.
yeah, definitely, definitely. And I think they work with the root chakra a lot and with the base chakra. I think they help ground us and stabilize us to the earth, but they are quite hard to play, like you say. So maybe a
Yeah.
recording, because my dad, I remember my dad really I would use all the face muscles and all the lung oxygen in your lungs, like it really takes it out of your playing one of them. So maybe getting it on record on YouTube as well might be a way to tap into that frequency. But yeah, and I love the shamanic drum, so I have my own shamanic drum and I use it a lot for my meditations and healing sessions. And oh god, there's just something about that frequency that it creates. Oof, it is such a powerful, powerful frequency, in my opinion. I absolutely love my little shamanic drum. It's got a tree of life as the handle, and it's just magical. But I really use that a lot for clearing of others and clearing of myself. I use the bowl to clear my crown and music to raise my vibration. I put sometimes just like normal guitar frequencies and like kind of medicine sort, and really raise that vibration up, because we need to kind of tap into what we're feeling and lift it up.
We do. It's time to
Mm.
lift up.
Yeah.
So if you're not using your voice, another thing you can do is you can imagine that you're filled with light and you can turn up the switch. So just like a dimmer switch, begin to turn your switch up until you're shining.
Nice. I love that.
So that way too. Yeah. This is
And
fun.
using light is not, it's no different to sound. It's got its own different frequencies and everything like that. But Trish, she doesn't work too much with sound. She works a lot with colors and light and vibration, and she likes silence, pure silence. Whereas I don't. I'm the opposite. So we are quite. And there's all different ways you can use to heal them in them frequencies. But even poetry, like poetry, I think can be such a great way to actually get out what you're feeling and actually articulate that in a way that's, if you don't feel comfortable writing someone a letter and addressing this pain, this trauma, sometimes generalizing it in a poem, but it's not obviously generalized, but it's a way that's not directed at someone, can be a very powerful way of expressing and releasing.
Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful thing, form of expression. My dad he writes a poem probably 3 times a day. He's writing a poem.
I
Yeah.
love that. To share
Yeah.
one of his poems.
Yeah. I used to put them in the newsletter. I need to get them again. So,
I do have a little bit of a spot for poetry. Do you know what I love? I love watching people read their poetry, like when they do live poetry, because I love watching the emotion behind it, and that's what I think I like, the passion and the power and the way that they read it with the emotion that it was written, and I really find that really, really emotionally moving. So there is so many ways that we can tap into expressing ourselves. Like Honey says, focus on the heart, but I think we can use these techniques to heal the heart as well. So we can use when we're feeling heavy and sadness, and sorrow and grief and loss and pain and anger in the heart, write a song, write a poem, get it out, put some music on. You know, sometimes there's music that maybe is not all airy fairy, but is saying the words that you need to hear to resonate with your pain to be able to release that. And that's absolutely fine. Like, don't think you have to listen to certain megahertz or certain frequencies. Like, literally just go with your intuition on what it is that you need at that time to go to, and what you need to be able to access that emotion and let it flow.
Yeah. And the frequencies have been cleared pretty much. So you're really probably not going to hear something that is negative or
Yeah,
bad
exactly.
for the body, or watch either. Like a lot of the TV frequencies have been cleared as well. So
Yeah,
I've
definitely
definitely
not.
watched more movies lately than I
Yeah,
have.
that's a lot more normal telly, you know, and a lot less different alternative media, and sometimes just mixing it up with a bit of all, which is we need to do. We need to live a human experience too, as long as it resonates with us. But it's very rare the intuition will lead you to a certain piece of music that's not beneficial to the soul to be released. You know, sometimes I can listen to a song and it can create a whole emotional reaction in me. You know, I got a beautiful message from my spirit guides from a song once after an event I did, and it was called Wings, and the event was about wings. And I was listening to the song, and as I was listening to the song, the guides were showing me where they were stood watching me do the event, and it was this whole emotion that was coming from the song. And honestly, I was sobbing my eyes out to this song, but it created such an emotional release and activation within me that, you know, I just don't think I'd have got from just a downloaded message. That activation that came with the music, with the words, with the frequency, just amplified that message so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
So good. So go out and listen to something if you enjoy it. And if not, work with some color. Maybe we'll talk about color next time. Let us know if you're interested in also hearing about color. And then we can
And
bring some paintings or, whatever. Yeah.
yeah, I love talking about all these things because we
Me
need
too.
them. And I'm sorry if I've talked over you. I told you I get excited talking about this stuff.
You're fine. No, we need to talk about this more often, because it's time. The creative thing is coming in. So we're all going to be a lot more creative in the future, whether that means I'm a beautiful gardener, I grow flowers, whether it means, you paint, or you play music, or maybe you do all of them. Yeah.
I like to do. I'm one of them. Can't pick one. I'll just do a bit of everything.
Yeah.
And I think because when I get bored of one thing, you do a painting, I write a song, write a poem, do some gardening, do a bit of everything. Keeps you on your toes.
Yeah. Just enjoy
Good.
everything you're doing.
I
Yeah.
have, I've got some old singing videos on YouTube, and I've got some footage of my performances at Mark Atwood's events. A lot of them are on my YouTube channel, but some of them are on the other one, which is called Star Spirit Song, I believe, on YouTube. I'll send you the link, honey, so you'll have it.
Yeah. Send me the link and we'll put it below so people can hear your voice, because it's amazing.
Yeah, there is quite a few, and there's some from when I was younger as well, so they're quite funny to watch because I was about 15 on some of them. But yeah, there will be more activations coming, and guided meditations as well, because I really enjoy doing them. Again, another way to express yourself via the throat. So yeah, they will be coming on that channel, so I will let you know when I've posted them.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Very
Thanks,
lovely.
everybody.
Me on.
Bye.